Hey everyone, Cleo here. It's day 11 of Bookmas 2018. I am filming this video today and it needs to go up today, so I hope my editing game is strong today and my filming game as well, because I hope not to be making too many errors that I will need to edit out later. But so today I am actually doing a deviation from the standard program for Bookmas 2018. So Hailey is actually doing a different video, but since I didn't see myself being able to plan this one in time, since I only decided to do this on like the 1st of December, I decided to deviate from the program, but actually I'm doing something that she did in one of the previous editions of Bookmas, and that is I'm doing her Christmas song book tag. Now I'm doing her longer version of the book tag. So she originally made the book tag, I'm not entirely sure at what time, like when she just created her channel, and then she redid it like, I don't know, maybe last year, maybe a couple of years back, and she added a couple of extra questions into them, and I'm going to be doing the long version of it. Now the idea for this book tag is based around Christmas songs, as it's clearly mentioned in the title, and so Hailey chose a couple of Christmas songs, and for each Christmas song she came up with a question that relates to a certain book, and you can answer with whichever book you like. Now you can obviously see that I've already got a couple of books piled up here. I don't think I've got them all. I kind of went through my shelves based off of what I could remember of the answers that I was going to give, and a couple of them I also just don't have in my possession. But this way at least you have a couple of them that you can relate to. And I actually just spotted a title on my list. A couple of them. Well, I'm just gonna pop down and get a couple of more before I answer this question. Alright, so I popped over and got like 3 more books to have ready for me here, so that when I do my discussion of them I can actually also show you something. Now let's just dive in, I guess. I'm not sure, I will probably not put like the music on the background as she did. It's very nice to do so, but yeah, since, as I just mentioned, I'm filming this now and putting it up later, I won't have the time to edit that in. But so yeah, actually also I didn't even know all of these Christmas songs. They're like American ones, I assume, though she's from Canada, but yeah, some of them I didn't know, but never mind, I really like the questions that she came up with. So the first one is actually one of these, and that's "You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch." Now the idea is to mention a villainous character that you are actually loving or rooting for or whatever. And so for that one I went with a quite recent one, and that is I now see the problem with this system. And for this one I went with a quite recent one for me, because I just read this book this year, and that is Sets from the Stormlight Archive. So you are first introduced to him in The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. Now Sets is an assassin, but he's also the not the very first, you have 6 pages in somebody else's perspective, but he's the first perspective that you read from in the main story, and I really liked him, and I'm hoping to see more of him. He's kind of a character that he's not one of the main characters, and so sometimes you read from his perspective, but when I say sometimes, it's like at max 5 times in the book. So I'm really looking forward to hopefully him becoming a more important character in the next book. So I've read book 1 and 2. He's still around as far as I'm aware, so spoiler there, sorry. But I'm definitely hoping to see more of him in book 3, and then hopefully onwards and upwards. So the second song is All I Want for Christmas Is You, and it's basically a book that you really want to see underneath the Christmas tree. And for that one I'm not going to show you the book, but book, because I don't have it yet, it needs to be on my Christmas tree. But the book that I really want to get is the illustrated version of Harry Potter, and I made it quite clear, so I'm expecting to get it. So the third song in the challenge is Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and it is about a character that overcomes obstacles and starts to believe in themselves, or to stand up for themselves. And for this one I went with, so this is a compendium of multiple novels, but I went with Anne from Persuasion by Jane Austen. Now Persuasion by Jane Austen is one of my favorite books, and so Anne might not seem like the most yeah, she's not like the bravest character or anything like that, or you wouldn't tell anybody like, yeah, if you want a good example of somebody who's brave and who stands up for themselves, look at Anne from Persuasion. However, I do feel like Anne comes a long way in this novel. So she starts out as you see her backstory as her having rejected the man she loved because her family persuaded her to do otherwise, and by the end she really is standfast in her decision about what she wants for her life. And I guess the smallness of the transformation, you know, it's not like a heroic standing up for herself. It is very much a in the grand scheme of things, it just seems like something normal to just come out for what you want, but it is also, especially in that time, in that society, something quite revolutionary. And so I really loved reading about Anne, reading how she was always putting everybody else first, how she was always willing to go with what other people were telling her, expecting from her, pushing on her, and then seeing her at the end of the book being able to say, you know what, I will decide for myself. The fourth one is actually a dual one. So the first one, so the song that is mentioned is Santa Claus is coming to town, and so he's making a list, he's checking it twice, and he's gonna find out if you've been naughty or nice. And so the first part of the question is a character that has been naughty, the second one is a character that has been nice. For the naughty character, it's actually a bit more than naughty, I guess. I'm going with Littlefinger from A Game of Thrones by J.R.R. Martin, especially if you've seen the series, of course. Most people have seen the series, or if you've read the book, you know that Littlefinger is a bit of the mastermind behind every behind the whole conflict in a whole, but also he's constantly in the background manipulating people and turning events, and that's why I'm putting in on my naughty list. So he might not actually be physically doing a lot of wrong most of the time, but he is actually steering everybody else towards doing some horrible things in the books. And my nice character is also from a major series, and that is Samwise Gamgee from The Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien. Now, Samwise is just a perfect example of somebody who's always been loyal, who's always there for his friend, who never has a bad day, who never has anything bad to say, and so that's why I honor him. As a Hufflepuff person, I also totally put a high esteem on loyalty, so Samwise was a natural pick for me. So Samwise Gamgee from The Lord of the Rings, you've been nice, you get a gift. And so the fifth or sixth, it's a matter of how you count this, but so yeah, the fifth song that is on there is Frosty the Snowman, and it is about a book that melts your heart. Still have to get that one. 1 second. So yeah, the Frosty the Snowman, a book that melts your heart, I went with The Rosie Project by Graham Simpson. So yeah, The Rosie Project, I haven't heard too much about it on BookTube, but maybe it's just not recent enough. Maybe it was mentioned, it was talked about a lot when it came out. But in any case, it's a story about a guy who is, he sees everything in a very scientific way, everything needs to go exactly according to rules. And so he comes up with a sort of like scientific experiment to find himself the perfect woman, but then enters into his life a woman called Rosie, who is like everything that is the opposite of what he's looking for. You know, she's chaotic, she's wild, she doesn't follow rules, she is unpredictable and things like that, and the story ensues from there. It is a very charming, warm and lovely book, and I just see that my kittens have totally decapitated one of my ornaments. 1 second. So this is what you get. I don't know whether you see it or not, but this bird used to have a beak. It doesn't anymore. It will totally destroy my entire Christmas tree at some point. They've been doing it like quite meticulous, you know, a little bit at a time, never anything too obvious, not anything that will make her say, hey, let's put away the Christmas tree. No, just like super small things every day. Masterminds, I'm telling you. So 6 is Feliz Navidad. So books that is set in a country other than your own. I had a couple of options for this. I mean, I read a lot of Murakami, for example, so which are always set in Japan. But then Murakami, I feel, is like so strange that it's like it's almost not set in Japan, but like in an alternate universe, because it's like magical realism and things like that. And the same went for a lot of my Latin American novels. A lot of them were magical realism, so I didn't really want to mention them. But I will be mentioning a book that I actually do not own, which is Wild Swans by Jung Chang. It is a book following 3 generations growing up in China. So you have like pre-revolution, revolutionary era, and even way back in like the ancient China. So I read this very long time ago. I read this like when I was 18 or something like that, but I absolutely loved it, and it really introduced me to the Chinese culture, which afterwards I've always found very fascinating. And then it is on to number 7. It's the most wonderful time of the year. So this song is dedicated to all things Christmas, and it's about a Christmas recommendation. Now, I do not own a lot of Christmas books, nor have I read a lot of Christmas themed books, so I will be recommending, super boring, everybody recommends this, but okay, A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. And this is not just this is the only Christmas book that I own recommendation, but I absolutely love A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. I absolutely love Charles Dickens as well. If he were still alive, he would maybe have been the author that I would most like to meet. But so definitely give his work a go. This is the Christmas book, so it's a companion of 3 of his Christmas stories, and definitely check them all out. I actually think I preferred The Cricket on the Hearth, but I should really reread it because it's been a very long time. So I'm gonna go with Save That, which is A Christmas Carol, but I think I liked one of these better than A Christmas Carol. So if you haven't read all of the Christmas books yet, do definitely give them a go. And then it is onwards and upwards to number 8, A Sleigh Rides. And this is a fictional character that you would love to spend holidays with. And for my option, I'm going with some characters from Harry Potter. And no, it is not a trio, I am going with the Marauders, and that is also why I'm holding up the 3rd book, in which the Marauders are first introduced to us. And I think the Marauders must really have been like a super cool gang to be part of, and they get up to all sorts of naughty stuff at school and are constantly getting into trouble, but they're also fiercely loyal friends. Spoiler. I'm not gonna give the spoiler there, most people know, but in any case, I would have definitely wanted to be the 4th one in this group that didn't let everybody else down and didn't betray people. So yeah, the Marauders are my choice for my holiday buddies. And then we are on towards to number 9, and that is Baby It's Cold Outside, a book you would sacrifice to the fire. Now I had a little think about this. There are books that I hate so much that sure, I would be willing to throw them in the fire, though I actually like having them around to hate on. But I went for a smarter option. This is a book that I didn't hate, didn't like neither. I thought there were huge problems with the plot, with certain scenes, definitely, and it overall didn't really suit me, and it was just so damn long. And so I'm going with the option that will keep me warm longest, because a 1,400 page book will keep me quite warm for a very, very long time, and I'm going with It by Stephen King. Yes, I'm going with it. So I actually like Stephen King's novels. Stephen King has very original concepts. I always like the ideas that he poses, but he always manages to, for me at least, screw it up with his endings or with the development he has in it. And also in this, like, female characters have no say almost in this story, and then what happens to the female character at the ending is like, what? So yeah, I'm definitely willing to throw this in the fire. It took me almost a month to get through this behemoth of a book, and honestly it wasn't worth it. So yeah, into the fire you go. So we are onwards, we are on to number 10, Do You Hear What I Hear, which is a book that you honestly want everybody to be reading. And I went with a book that I feel like almost nobody knows about. It doesn't seem to be on the radar of anybody. It's on like some of the lowest rated books that are on my list on Goodreads, and that is the King's Dark if I can even pronounce it, King's Dark Tidings series by Kel Kate. Now it is relatively recent, but saying relatively recent is saying a lot because it's also already like 3 books have come out, I think 1 each year, so it's 3 years old. But it is really super good. It's one of the best fantasies. It's definitely in my top 10 fantasies of all times that I've read. So more people should really be reading this. I'm not necessarily saying it's the greatest fantasy out there, but it's super fast paced. It's got a cast of wonderful characters and I really love it. If you've got a chance, listen to the audiobooks for this because they are wonderfully performed. I did feel like, well actually already 4 books already out of this, so it's already 4 years old. So I did feel like the 4th book I only read, I didn't listen to the audiobook, and I did feel like that was a little bit of a lesser experience, so maybe the audiobook is really the way to go here because I really enjoyed all of my listenings for these books, and I listened to them always like in a single day because it just really was enthralled by the story. So yeah, read it. The King's Dark Tidings series by Cal Kate. And then we are onwards to the new questions. Maybe this one was already part of the new questions, I'm not sure. And that is, where are you Christmas? Cannot even pronounce Christmas anymore. So it is to mention a book that you would want to get your hands on immediately, but that isn't out yet. And now, I obviously cannot hold it up. I could have held up one of the previous books, but I'm really not gonna pop up back out to get it again. And that is The Doors of Stone, the 3rd book in the King Killer Chronicles by Cal Kate Kittens. Yeah, I could have, of course, also put Winds of Winter here, but let's be honest, that's never gonna happen. Plus, Winds of Winter isn't even the final book in the series yet. I have heard some horrible stories that Doors of Stone might also not be the final book. I was expecting it to be a trilogy, but some people say that it might not be a trilogy, which means that not only have we spent, what, 7 years waiting for Doors of Stone and Winds of Winter, there's gonna be more of both of these series. I love these writers, but seriously, I cannot wait that long. I will have to, but yeah, it's killing me. But so yeah, if I could have my hands on Doors of Stone at this moment, I definitely would, especially since I assume, might not be the case, that the Doors of Stone refer to the doors in the library of the university, and they've always intrigued me, so I really hope that's what they refer to. But okay, sidetrack there. So number 12, getting there, Last Christmas. And so the question is, a book you started off loving, but that you've kind of fell into either getting disappointed by or hating. And for me, this is The Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Ruiz Zafón. Now, I might have just gone into it with too much expectations. I mean, all of my friends from college loved this book. My mother loved this book. Everybody I knew loved this book. This book is on so many lists of books of recommendation. Every time a new book in this series comes out, it is like a major event. But yeah, first of all, I find it also a bit of a struggle to get into at parts. I liked the very beginning, I liked the setup of it and things like that, but then there were certain parts of it that dragged a bit, and then there was a part near the end that I absolutely adored, but then the ending, the final part. It had a trope that I absolutely hate, which was already a reason for me to hate it, and then it had an epilogue, and I hate epilogues. Or maybe it didn't even have an epilogue, but it just felt like it was an epilogue, so now I'm not even sure about that anymore. I don't think that there is a actual epilogue, but it definitely just felt like one, you know? I mean, like a bad epilogue. Epilogues to me should be like, I don't know, you know, when I read a good epilogue, I love it, but epilogues are very often just used to quickly round up the story, which I find horrible. I mean, I prefer it to be an open ending than for me to know, like, super quickly in like one line a character what happens to every character. And the ending might not have been like a roundup of what happens to every character, but it was like in this super fast, let's quickly round up the story because I don't know what to write about anymore style. So yeah, I'm not gonna read the sequel. I have zero interest in reading the sequel. Sometimes I somehow find that I feel myself obligated to read the sequels just because I read the first one. For this, I definitely have zero inclination for it, so I'm sorry, I'm not giving it a second go. And then we are almost to the end, so we are on question 13. I think I have 14. I mean, she mentioned 15, but I guess that is like with an Naughty and Nice one, which was like one question split into two. So number 13 is Blue Christmas, and that is a book that made you cry. And for this, I really don't need to look very far because it's the last book that I read, A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara, which was it really made me sob. And I mean, I wasn't like crying endlessly and uncontrollably at certain points maybe, but like there were steady moments of crying throughout the book, you know, not the entire book long, but like definitely 5 times maybe in the entire book that I really needed to cry, which I mean, I'm not very much of a cry person when it comes to books, so I was very much surprised with the amount of crying I had to do for this. Though I will tell you, take a look at my December TBR and maybe my December wrap up when it eventually comes there, because there's major trigger warning for this book, so don't just fly into it. I mean, it has very dark subject matter. And then the final question is also a book that I didn't get off my shelves, and I'm trying to locate now to see whether I want to get it. Oh fine, I'll go and get it. Alright, so the final one is something with a marshmallow, which I've never ever heard of. So let me find the title again. A Marshmallow World. I need to look up this song after I made this tag because some of them are very intriguing. A Marshmallow World. I'm just imagining the cutest lyrics ever, and that is also the assignment for this song, and that is a fluffy book. Now, I didn't really know what she meant with fluffy, but I'm just expecting like I'm just expecting like a cutesy book, so I went with The Secret Diary of Lizzie Bennet by, doesn't actually say, oh yeah, Bernie Sue and Kate Rourke. But so this is the novelization of the YouTube series that you absolutely have to check out. So it is the YouTube series based off of Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen, and so I'm not very much into like romance or insta-love or anything like that, so I don't really have, I mean, I've read a couple of romances, but they were mostly like very cheesy ones and ones that I didn't really like. This is the perfect level of cheese for me, so this is why I went with this one. And if you haven't seen the YouTube adaptation for Pride and Prejudice, so The Secret Diary of Lizzie Bennet, I think it's called the Lizzie Bennet Diaries on YouTube, then definitely go and check it out. You also have one for Emma, which is Emma Approved, also very great series. Check them out. If you are an Austen fan, you will most likely like them. So that is it for the Christmas song book text for me. Now I'm off to edit this video so that I can post it today still, but so yeah, tomorrow will be hopefully a little bit better. I will be filming and editing a couple of videos so that I won't have to do this every single day of the week anymore, because that will just kill me. Absolutely kill me, especially since on Friday evening a lot of friends are coming over and I'm going to a Christmas market first, so I don't have time. I need to film that video tomorrow. But so in any case, let me stop rattling here. See you next time!